Assistance Professional Development Circle. Delighted to have you all join with our extending our circle of learning together. I'm Kathleen Cavani. I'm the co-director of the Food Impact Network along with Dr. Howard Nye. And we are examining opportunities to use 3 pilot sites to learn how might we improve the offerings in public institution menus that were aligned closer with Canada's Food Guide. These food items also happen to be more plant-rich, which also foster better health outcomes. They improve well-being for human, animal, and planetary health. And the gains we are still cataloging. So we're calling this the Food Impact Network. We're assessing environmental, economic, nutrition, and social equity implications of our food systems, along with food waste and consumer interface, consumer uptake. So we're very excited by the collaboration across Canada on this. Even though it's just 3 pilot sites, we are a powerhouse of researchers across the country. And we will be planning a next phase. And perhaps at the end, I could speak a little bit to that. But I'm really delighted to pass over to Natalie Weeder, who is our project coordinator. And she's also a master's researcher with us. But I'll leave that to Maddie, or to Natalie rather, to say hello and to take us through the session today.
Thanks, Kathleen. Yeah, it's a very exciting project. We're delighted to have so many incredible research assistants supporting the project and contributing meaningful work. And today we'll get to hear a bit about their work in short 5-minute presentations. So perhaps we'll go do Maddie, Aditya, and then Karen. So I'll pass it over to you, Maddie, if you want to share your screens.
Sounds good. Thank you. Okay. I think this is good. Okay. Hello. Thank you. I'm really excited to be sharing the stuff that we've been working on. It sort of feels like sometimes you're just kind of in your own little isolation bubble and you can feel a little bit lonely, but now we're always, close together in our network, so we can always lean on each other. So I'm Maddie Youngman. I am a graduate research assistant at the University of Alberta under the supervision of Dr. Howard Nye in the philosophy department. As a philosopher myself and an interdisciplinary researcher, I am working in this role on knowledge mobilization projects for the Food Impact Network, also known as FIN. And in my sort of little pocket of Food Impact Network, we call it Work Bundle 4. And in Work Bundle 4, we are currently working on various projects addressing the problems of and the solutions to mis and disinformation by the animal agriculture industry that sort of attempt to counter our efforts towards healthy, sustainable, and socially just diets. Now, for the impact of this work, we are conducting literature reviews, social media analyses, policy analyses, and we're really thinking through communication, philosophical and political, as well as psychological barriers to the promotion of healthy and sustainable diets. So far, we've been really fortunate to share initial research findings at various conferences this year, such as the Canadian Communication Association, Environmental Studies Association of Canada, and the Animal Law and Advocacy Conference. Additionally, we as a group will continue to disseminate the knowledge that will be produced by the other great work bundles or teams within the Food Impact Network through strategic communications so that this information is public and accessible to everyone. And this also will include our upcoming Food with Benefits website that Kathleen will hopefully discuss a little bit later on, our second stage of this project. And now for our sort of societal importance of this work. Personally, and this may vary from person to person and within each team, but I really hope that the work that we do to highlight and uplift science-backed research on healthy and sustainable diets will raise public awareness about accurate, evidence-based information on the health and sustainability impacts of the food we eat, And doing this all while acknowledging the importance of food in culture, politics, identity, and social norms in order to help rebuild and reshape the food environment to ultimately improve our health, well being, and the planet. And that's sort of where we are. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Maddie. Yeah, communication is such an important aspect of this project, and there's so much miscommunication out there. So it's great that you've already participated in so many conferences already. Um, Now we can move to Aditya, if you'd like to go ahead and present.
Yeah. Right. So, hello again. I'm Aditya. I am a PhD student at the University of Alberta in the Math and Statistical Sciences Department. I am pursuing my PhD under the supervision of Professor Hao Wang, and I'm working on the FIN project under the supervision of Professor Talan from Dalhousie, along with Professor Hao Wang and Dr. Pablo. I'm working on work bundle 3, where we are discussing the impacts of the dietary transition from animal-based diets to plant-based diets. And we are focusing mostly on the economic aspect of it. We want to think about how it changes the economy if there were some wide-ranging changes from animal-based diets to plant-based diets. Now, recently, I'll move on to the work that we have done. Recently, we received the post-intervention and the pre-intervention menus from the Halton Health Center, and we were able to perform a brief heat map analysis of that menu. This is the brief analysis of the menu. As you can see that most of the items from the menu are relying on carbohydrates for energy. The two most carb-rich items have been replaced by two another highly carb-rich items, and there is a significant amount of uh, reliance on carbohydrates apart from proteins and fats on the menus. You can also see that the meat items on the menu from pre-intervention are not as cost effective or cost efficient as the new menu has been. There are more nuances to this menu and to the entire picture in general, but the bigger picture is yet to be analyzed as we recently received the data. So I quickly put this up for the presentation. Our group is trying to be a bit more ambitious and extend our reaches to the entire Canadian population and talk about large scaling questions as to what will the transitioning bring about for Canada, for the livestock farmers and industries in Canada as a whole. And also, what kind of policies can we implement, or how will these policies actually affect the economy in Canada and in Canada's agriculture? To do this, we uh, are working on a CGE model or computable general equilibrium model, which uses the various sectors within the economy of Canada. For example, agriculture sector, trade sector, manufacturing, processing, everything that starts from farm involves processing of the food and brings it to our homes, and bring about some minor perturbations within this system to figure out how the equilibrium, how the entire system changes. For instance, if we were to bring about some changes in trade policies, how would that affect the food security, food sustainability within the system of uh, Canada's agriculture? That is what we want to look at and what we want to analyze. this is a small structure within the entire model where we have multiple aggregator functions. I don't want to get very much into the depth of it, but as you can see that it starts out with something as basic as labor and capital and goes on to or aggregates to the domestic supply of food that we have in Canada. Yeah, so we are still working on this model. We are using real world data. We are using data from StatCan to in our model to actually simulate and figure out how we can make agriculture within Canada more sustainable and ensure food security for the people. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aditya. It's incredible that you're doing such detailed, specific analyses on menu items, but also asking huge questions and larger macro analyses on the national economy. It's quite the range of work.
Thank you.
And love to pass it on to Karen now.
Thank you. Oops. I have to say my presentation doesn't look half as good as any of the others. So here it is. So I'm just going to talk to you about the research that I've been doing at part of Work Bundle 4 and with Howard, and some of it is with Maddie. So like Maddie mentioned, we're doing examining misinformation in animal agriculture, and that's for the Share Partnership Engage grant that we got with plant-based data. And my aspect was to look at the Agriculture and Agri-Foods Canada two granting programs that they have, the Agri-Communications and the Communications and Agri-Competitiveness grants that they give out, and how that the organizations that are funded are promoting misinformation and disinformation in animal agriculture. And so one of the papers that I've been working on is Betraying the Public Trust, How Canada Uses Tax Dollars to Prop Up a Destructive Food System. And we found that there's a lot of disinformation as well as omissions of information, which is also disinformation, where they'll talk about the good work that they're doing in the agricultural sector, especially the livestock animal agriculture sector, to counter some of the concerns of the public, such as greenhouse gas emissions, but they won't talk about this the destructive practices that still endure, and that the projects that they're working on to limit the emissions, or let's say water pollution, are micro projects, and they're not being adopted by the entire animal agriculture industry in Canada. The other paper is Betraying Our Children. It's going to be something similar, but I'm looking at all the programs that are being funded through those two grants that are specifically targeting school children at the K through 12 school system, and how they're providing misinformation and disinformation, and how they're trying to promote the status quo. Because what these two grants do is they're trying to increase public awareness and public trust in our food system. But what I found is that a lot of that is increased public trust in the status quo. And the most active participants in these grants that are focusing on children are the livestock industry, because they want to create the next generation of consumers, and also the next generation of supportive voters. So regulations that limit the industry don't get passed. So then we're working on plant forward nudging in healthcare settings, which is another grant that we got from SSHRC. It's the Insight Development Grant, which Kathleen is a collaborator on that. And we're investigating the reception of communications about the ethics of plant-forward nudging in healthcare settings. And we're doing 3 studies with the first study is with advocates. So people, let's say like Forward Food or Nourish, that go into hospitals and or organizations or try to get policies changed or improved to bring forward plant-forward practices in the healthcare settings. We're also going to be interviewing, and I'm starting the interviews with healthcare providers, healthcare stakeholders who are responsible for the menus, both at the cafeteria level, but also the patient menus, and looking at the obstacles and barriers to the adoption of plant-forward practices and the successes. What in the communications is working that help people transition from basic standard westernized menus in the healthcare sector to more plant-forward menus. So that's another one. We're also conducting workshops. We got a cool team research grant with the University of Calgary to conduct workshops connecting researchers and partners on plant-forward policies, excuse me, in Alberta and beyond. And this was trying to increase the research capacity in plant-forward in a province that is maybe a little bit tricky in terms of its receptivity to plant-forward practices, and to bring potential academics who are interested in this research into the Food Impact Network. I think Hiwatt and Howard may be the only two people at the University of Alberta who are academics there, who are part of the BIN. So we're hoping to increase that. And we have 2 workshops planned. One of them is embracing diverse cultural food preferences and plant-forward practices and policies. And the other is food and climate literacy education, public information campaigning related to plant-forward food practices and policies. And these workshops will be in the winter term. So I'm going to invite you all to join the workshops. And we're looking for panelists right now in Alberta specifically, but we have a couple of panelists from out, because it's hard finding panelists who will speak about this in Alberta. And then we're working, as Work Bundle 4, Maddie was talking about, we're working on this edited volume called Slaughtering Reality, the Meat Industry's War on Science. And we have plans to publish with McGill Queen's University Press. The volume will explore the animal agriculture industry's public relations strategies, disinformation campaigns, and lobbying efforts to sow doubt, confusion, and misunderstanding about climate science, biodiversity, and ecosystems, public health, and animal well-being. And we'll also explore the industry's promotion of pseudoscience and an industry-friendly mythology in the public sphere. And we're hoping to apply for a connections grant for the May 1st deadline. And the last project I'm working on is a partnership engage grant on the K through 12 school food policy. We're working with Food Forward, Humane World for Animals, to identify to influence the adoption of plant-forward policies and practices within the National School Food Policy and aligned with Canada's 2019 Food Guide and Dietary Guidelines. The grant would involve interviews with stakeholders such as advocates, again, provincial policy stakeholders in the ministries of education, but that's not the only one, the only ministry that is involved in this national school food program, and food service stakeholders to see where the opportunities are for influencing the policy to grow in a more plant-forward direction. So that's the research that I've been working on. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Karen. You're juggling so many different grants and projects. It's been great to see.
Yeah, it's been quite the juggling act. Yeah, thank you.
If I could, then I'll also share, since I learned so much today hearing from colleagues on the call. Thank you all for that. Um, if you stop sharing, Karen, then I will share
Oh,
the
yes.
update on where we are with our cool initiative as well. And it might educate some of you. You may already know all of this, but I always love talking about it. So I will also try and take 5 minutes to give the overview. And is that backwards? Yeah. So then let's do this display mirror, duplicate, something like that. And take that out of there. So the Food Impact Network is a national research collaboration that is really evolving and involves partners from sites as well as NGOs. And we hope to engage industry also more in this work. We're really looking at the impact of food systems. So as we all know, we had evidence that the planetary boundaries were in jeopardy in 2009. By the 2015, we saw we were encroaching further beyond the green zone. The green circle is the safe zone, and beyond that, the red zone. And by 2023, we had transgressed 6 of 9. And sadly, our recent update, the Planet Health Checkup, is not a good report in that we've transgressed further and now have 7 of 9. So although we have a lot of evidence, we're not doing enough. And it's critical for our well-being and all life forms, current and into the future, that we take action. So I love to say that agricultural policy is health policy, it is social policy, it is economic policy. The question is it good policy? And what mechanisms can we use to assess the implications of any of our policies? And that's why in our work, we're bringing a systems lens to assess from multiple dimensions to see whether or not agricultural policy is good or environmental policy is good or health for that matter. So with the Social Science and Humanities Research Council grant, we are looking to build out and extend the work by analyzing trade-offs between nutrition, so economic, environmental objectives that organizations might have, and look at some of the drivers that help influence with successful transitions to more sustainable diets in institutional food culture, and place more plants on the plate and arrive at recommendations and evidence that could inspire others also to join with us. And folks on this call would know well, the solution is in a delicious form called our food. Food is the best strategy for improving human health, planetary well-being, as well as animal welfare, and it protects ecosystems into the future. And Canada's food guide that came out in 2019 is similar to many other guides that have been led by science. And we can see how comparable these are around the world. And you can see as well that the healthy food guides for First Nations also aligns very closely with this guide. So it does us no good to leave us a dragon out of our calculations if we live near one or if we are one. And sadly, we are contributing collectively to a decline in well-being. So the research project brought together 4 strategies. Some was mentioned already. The WB1 looked at some pilot conversation with sites, and we asked about their procurement placement and what kind of perceptions of plant forward menu offerings. And Calvina Neuro completed her master's degree in this work. The work bundle 2 is looking at the amount of waste that might be generated in public food environments, as well as consumer preferences for food. And we certainly would like to be alert to the potential, should there be a change in menus, would that hopefully reduce waste or would it contribute to waste? And work bundle 3 is looking with our experts, many who are on the call today as well, who are map modeling and measuring what the implications are to society if we have a switch from less animal products on menus to more plant-based products, and what that does in terms of environmental gains, from a greenhouse gas emissions, land use, water use, biodiversity protection, from an economic perspective, and we heard some from the ETS team on what they're doing. And we also are looking at the nutrition and social implications of transferring or transitioning to more plant-based. And WB4, as we heard, are looking at examining narratives, using social media to get messages out there and displace misinformation with more facts and critical literature. So some of the work we're doing is also building upon the collection of the Handbook of Sustainable Diets. And Natalie is helping me with promoting this around the world with a webinar series. And this work is bundled into the work of the Food Impact Network as well. So the Food with Benefits is kind of our next iteration where we're thinking of moving ourselves even to a larger national campaign with 4 elements that kind of work together. So we're calling these solution streams, where the first solution stream is looking at bringing industry, site partners, that is hospitals, colleges, and universities, along with NGOs and researchers to the table to talk about what should we be measuring when we come to our food systems, and how can we build that into quality improvement and key performance indicators already operational within organizations, so we're not adding a layer of work for our colleagues, but that we're just inviting them to reorient their measurements to ensure we're capturing things that really are part of the outputs or the impact from our food systems. And there's talk of maybe we'll develop an app that could quickly offer would-be consumers more full cost accounting of their food choices. The solution stream 2 is looking at cultural change. How can we help organizations assess the stage they're at in moving towards more plant-forward and sustainable and progressive organizational culture? And we look to offer webinars to help transition with them. And then procurement is a critical element of any change initiative where procurement policies involve government initiatives. There may be subsidies. There could be regional food networks that also can benefit from procurement, particularly allowing more plant-forward options to be in the hub of food that's made accessible to public institutions. And then the adoption of planetary health menus in Canada's food guide is really what we envision. And we really hope that in our Food with Benefits initiative over 6 years, we worked closely with 30 organizations, that over that time, 300 more would be inspired to be part of this effort. So we hope that these interconnected solutions really do advance the culture across Canada and foster more health promotion and inclusive food environments, because menus that are more plant-rich also are more culturally and religiously inclusive. And our impact, we think, won't be too small. We'll have early adopters, the site partners we talked about, from institutions already leading the way, cataloging their story, inspiring maybe 300 more organizations to become engaged. We see lowering emissions, improving environmental gains overall. And ideally, we'll see nutritional profiles improve, which will, in the longer term, help with health equity. And we envision engaging a wonderful collection of researchers, research assistants, and interns. So with Maddie's help, we were able to co-design a bit of a graphic that looks something like this in terms of what our objectives are, how we're going to organize our core team, our advisory council, along with the elements that make up this new design, and how we want to extend our reach and really make this a much larger, impactful project across Canada. So that's our vision, and we invite anyone who wishes to join with us to get in touch. We're happy to have more partners on board.